Yeah, a lot of people thinking that we are, and they can go out and do whatever they want to do. But as soon as many people get out on the roads, we know what happens if it rains around here. We know what happens if the sun is shining around here with a lot of people on the roads. With weather like this, yeah, a complete nightmare. So thank you to all of you who thought about going out and decided, no, I'm not going to go out because maybe they're right? Well, yeah, we got ice in a lot of spots. And you talk about much of a nightmare for the people who were out on the roads trying to get around and go into church and so forth and so on. That would be a complete mess. Been showing you this shot up here toward the Athens area, mainly up toward the northeast, where we've been seeing at least a lot of ice on the roadways and the sidewalks. You could look here in the metro area. In fact, this is Midtown, just outside our studios, nothing but rain. All right, still a little bit slick, and we do have some ice on the elevated surfaces, on the sidewalks, on our railings, on our back patios. We've been getting pictures in, even from this area where we've been getting a little bit of ice as well. Not as much as we've been seeing up toward the north and east, and we did talk about that, right? We talked about the north and east seeing the higher amounts, about 1/10 of an inch so far around here, and we're hoping that that will be washed away by that rain that comes in if our temperatures get warm enough. We're not warm enough right now. There would be freezing rain, and we have it spotty in our area right now, but once that wall of rain back over to the west of us gets in here, if we're still down there below the freezing mark or around the freezing mark, we'll see more of those, more of that freezing rain, and those totals will happen to go up. And we've been seeing higher amounts up here to the north. Once you get up into Hall County, especially up into White County as well, Lumpkin County, up into Rabun County, we've been seeing some higher totals so far. We've got reports in of trees being toppled over, some power outages up in this way as well, and so that is only going to amp up as we head through the rest of the morning, along with this next batch of precipitation coming through and what's coming in behind it will add to the impacts of this system. So we will talk about this even into tomorrow, likely into Tuesday as well. We'll be seeing those impacts because those temperatures will be cold enough to support more issues. Again, where you see this pink area here, that is where the freezing rain is coming down. Every now and again, in some spots, mixing with a little sleet. Like over toward Toccoa right now, you maybe got some sleet mixing in with some of that freezing rain. All this so far has been on the light side. You got where you see a darker pink in here, maybe. In parts of southern Lumpkin County, it may be coming down a little moderately right there. Over toward Canton, down into parts of northwestern Cobb County, into North Fulton County, down toward Sandy Springs and Roswell. Maybe a little bit of light freezing rain coming down over toward Monroe as well, down toward Covington. But once you get down toward Forest Park, notice how it starts to break up. Even the clouds starting to break up a little bit as well around the perimeter. I mean, could you imagine folks out on the perimeter, maybe trying to get to church or whatever? Yeah, not the best of ideas to do. And we talk about more of that rain back off to the west of us. That's coming our way, folks. Likely to arrive here between 12 and 1 o'clock, and that rain will stay with us. Notice how widespread this is. You got a line that I think will intensify as it comes over, but even back behind that, there'll be more rain. So I think it will stay with us at least through about 5 o'clock tonight. Our hope is that the temperatures will be warm enough to support liquid, at least around the metro area. We're down around 31 degrees right now. Certainly in the 20s up here to Gainesville, over toward Athens, up toward Clayton. It's in this area right in here. All right, that we're looking at the highest totals of that freezing rain. Down to the south, of course, haven't seen much of that at all. And over toward the west as well, even though you're closer to the freezing mark over there into Carrollton. All right, you got to understand the precipitation types, right? Because when the temperatures in the 20s, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, we should be seeing all snow. But over our heads, it's still warm air. What's happening is that cold air damming up against the mountains is diving down to the surface. All right, and so it's still warm aloft, and so that rain comes out of those clouds as liquid. Once it gets to the surface, it's only a shallow layer of the cold air, but once it hits that, it hits things on contact, and that's where we start to see that ice begin to spread out. With sleet, there's a little bit more of a layer of cold air there, and so it comes down as rain and hits that layer, and it has time to solidify, and it comes down as these pellets. That really begins to pile up on the roads, which is what we're seeing in some spots, and this really creates that ice glaze on the roads. Two coming together in some spots where we have a mixture of both, and so that has been part of the headache so far up there to the north and east of us. Talk about the road temperatures, they're down in places like Georgia's 400 over toward Beaufort Highway, and then up here along I-85 headed toward the border into South Carolina. Everywhere else, especially up here to the north, well above the freezing mark there. You're close to it at Georgia 400 and Holcomb Bridge. The city right now around 36. So fortunate that we're not seeing more of that icing taking place. Those numbers could drop. And with the cold air coming in tonight, flash freezing will create that glaze on the roads where you can't see it, especially at night. Ice storm warning continues at least until 10 o'clock on Monday. Two things we are concerned about: dangerous travel, and power outages. Okay, those are going to continuously go up as we experience that weight on the lines and those winds whipping that around. Okay, and causing weak trees to topple over that could topple on power lines. So we'll be watching for that. The rest of the day now, we saw those impacts and felt them, at least here, for earlier today. For the rest of the day, that shifts a little bit further to the north where we have this wide area of orange where we could see another maybe tenth to a quarter of an inch of ice accumulation. This little swath here indicates the high impacts of more accumulation as well, something we'll watch out for. The Atlanta metro area, low impacts from here on out if that wedge starts to erode. If it doesn't, then we could see more. All right, doesn't take much ice to weigh down power lines and trees. Half an inch of ice, equivalent to 500 pounds. That sags down those power lines and causes the poles to move inward, if not snap and break. All right, so that leads to power outages, not to mention the winds blowing those power lines around because of that extra weight that's on the lines, that teardrop form, and it kind of just blows it and swings it around. They're clapping into each other and causing problems. Bridges and overpasses as well, especially on ramps. You just heard in DeKalb County, they shut down part of the road there because of the icing that's taking place along one of those bridges that they have, one of those new ones. So be very careful. Typically what happens with a road, it loses its heat at the same rate. But because of an overpass, it has air underneath it, it loses its heat faster. And so it'll freeze here first before freezing on the ground around it. And so that's where we run into problems on some of those overpasses. This is a widespread storm. Okay, this covers almost half of the nation, really. When you look at it over toward New Mexico and extends all the way up into Maine. This pink area that you see here is a winter storm warning. Where we are down here, we have the ice storm warning. Also back toward Memphis and further down to the south as well. That's where we're anticipating the freezing rain to continue. But north of that is where we have all this snow in parts of Ohio, Indiana, extending over into Pennsylvania, New York, New Jersey, down into the Delmarva Peninsula, along with Washington, D.C. and Baltimore, where they are anticipating, in fact, from D.C. all the way up into New York, expecting anywhere from 6 to 10 inches, probably has already fallen. Notice that the warmer air is starting to slide to the north there. So they'll get some freezing rain on top of that. We could see more from this line coming through, so we'll continue to monitor it for you and keep you updated right here.